So I've got a quick tips kind of video for you today. Do you ever get fed up when you go to use one of your Nuvo drops that you haven't used in a few years, and you go to try and squeeze it out and it's gone hard at the top, and then you've squeezed all of this stuff into the nozzle and it takes ages for you to try and clean it out? Well, before you even try squeezing your Nuvo drop, if you haven't used it in more than 6 months, you're probably going to need to do this anyway. So I would say do this first rather than trying to squeeze it, because it will take you longer to clean it if you have squeezed that like dried up product into the nozzle. So I know that I haven't used these in quite a while. So this one is my blue ice, and you can see I haven't used it because it's actually starting to separate a little bit up there. So we can give it a good shake if you want to, but what you want to do is you want to open it and do not be tempted to squeeze it to see if it's still alright. If you haven't used it in that long, it's probably not going to be alright. So what you want to do is you want to just prise this top bit out, and you can see here actually that it's quite thick. So as soon as you take this out, if it's holding peaks like this, it's gone thick and it's dried out a little bit. So you really do want to do this before getting all of that in your nozzle and making it harder to get it out. And you can see it's quite thick in the top of the bottle as well. So although this does waste a little bit of product doing this, I think it's well worth it to have less hassle trying to use your Nuvo drops after you haven't used them for a while. So what you need is your pokey tool, a finer pokey tool. This one is, I think this was a 2 Crafts one. It's got a quilling tool on one end and then a finer needle tool on the other end. Just something that is thin enough to get through the nozzle of your Nuvo drop. So maybe even a pin that you normally use for your glue, just something like that. You're going to want baby wipes because you don't really want to be washing Nuvo drops down your drain. And you're probably going to need a bit of kitchen roll as well. So if we get a baby wipe ready, and then what you want to do is you want to take your pokey tool and just scoop around the neck of your bottle, and you'll scoop out all of that thicker material. So you can actually tell that it's really thick because it's normally it would spread much nicer and obviously self-level. This has lost some of its moisture from being right up at the top of the bottle for so long and not being used. So usually that's all you need to do, one sort of scrape around it. Yeah, that's more juicy down there, and then you can kind of squeeze the bottle and see the product come up a little bit to tell that that is more juicy down there. Then you want to clean your nozzle out as well, so you want to do the same thing, scrape around the edge with your pokey tool and scoop out as much of that product as you can. So just scoop it out in little clumps, trying not to push it down the nozzle, but you want to get as much of this out as you can, because if you haven't quite got all of it out, then you go to squeeze it and it'll come up the nozzle anyway and start to try and block it. So you want to get as much out as you can, and then once you've got as much out as you can from that way, you can take your finer pokey tool, not the tonic one. The tonic one is too wide for a Nuvo drop bottle. You want a finer one that you can actually get down the nozzle of the bottle, and you can push out whatever was kind of remaining in there and wipe that off. Then there is still a bit more in here, so we can actually screw up the corner of your baby wipe, get that in there and twist it around to try and get more of it out. That's got most of it out. We can dry this out a little bit with a corner of a kitchen roll, like that, and you can see it's much cleaner now. If you really want to go the whole hog, you can soak this, but this does actually do the trick, just poking the rest of this out of here. You can see we got a bit more out of the nozzle there as well, and we can wipe that off. And then actually you might even be able to see all the way through that. Yeah, you can, if it would focus. I don't know if it's going to focus, but I think even in the blurry state you can see that you can actually see the grid of my mat through the hole, so you know that that is cleaned out. And now you can just place that back inside, and then you can use your Nuvo drops. So move the dirty baby wipe out of the way, shake it down to the nozzle, squeeze, and you've got the perfectly unclogged Nuvo drop bottle. So it's such a simple thing to do, and it really saves so much time. If you squeeze that when there's still a big chunk of dried up kind of material at the top. It goes all the way up here and it takes ages to try and clean it out. But now we've got the perfect drops coming straight out of our bottle, and actually I don't know if you can hear this. When you finish using your Nuvo drops, make sure you can hear this noise. That means that there's air up here rather than product, and that means if you then leave this another 6 months to a year or something before you come back to it, yes, more product will have got thicker up the top here, but it'll mean that it's not all getting thick inside the nozzle, and it'll make it much easier to clean it out. So hope that tip helped you. It's just a really quick and easy way of how to maintain your Nuvo drops, especially when you haven't used them for at least 6 months. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the tip, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!